Jarlath Burns, it's hard to believe it's that time of year again. Championship all but 2 weeks away.
Yes, and National League just over, and I suppose teams still trying to get over whether they got relegated or beaten in the final. 2 Ulster teams beaten in 2 finals as well. 2 Ulster teams relegated too. So it hasn't been a fantastic National League for us. But if you get a good win, if you start off with a good win in the first round of the championship, that can lift all boats, as they say in the Titanic building here. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's as open this year as it has ever been.
Overall, looking back briefly at the league, the quality of football played, what did you think of it?
I thought it was good this year. The one thing about the league is, I suppose people give off about the experimental nature of teams in the league and that, but in a sport as amateur, and where if you need a midfielder you can't just buy him in, you need a secondary competition that isn't just as important, to blood new players. And you cannot expect, as well as that, fellas who are working during the week and that to be at peak fitness for the whole of the year. So I suppose that's why we have a league, and that's why we need a secondary competition. I suppose from an Armagh perspective it wasn't great going down with 5 points. We beat Kerry, drew with Cork, and beat Down. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the championship, Owen, none of that will count for anything. Armagh go out against Tyrone in the first round of the championship. After 5 minutes, all of that will have been forgotten about, and it'll just be the team that can endure the most on that day and put up with that sort of pressure that the championship brings that will win the match.
A hugely interesting start, defending champions out on day one, Donegal, and of course Cavan with a new manager. So how do you think that might go?
That's very interesting one. I think Cavan might be 1 or 2 years just a wee bit early for that new crop of young players that they have coming along. They had a difficult enough league, and we know what happened in Cavan, and that's caused difficulty. But very often that sort of adversity can galvanise a team too, and you wouldn't know. I have seen teams, Ulster champions, going out and being flat in the first round of the championship and being caught in the hop. It is in Breffni Park, and that will be worth 3 or 4 points to Cavan as well. So Cavan are always good for a surprise. And Martin McHugh always says there's always one big surprise in the championship. If you look at those fixtures there on this great sheet that the Ulster Council have given us, you've Monaghan Antrim from Anna Down. That could be a surprise as well. Armagh, Tyrone would be expected to win that. But then, of course, after the National League poor performance, Armagh could nick that because Down were expected to beat Armagh in the Athletic Grounds last year, and Armagh beat them by 5 points. So the Ulster Championship can throw up anything.
It's possible that Down now may be preparing for an Ulster Championship without Benny Coulter. How significant will that be?
It's very significant given the fact that I've watched 3 or 4 Downs matches this year, and I saw them gradually improve. Okay, they just didn't get going against Cork in the last game. Benny Coulter's a very, very important part of their team. Himself and Danny Hughes, and those 3 or 4 really, really stylish forwards that they have, who can get a ball and create something out of nothing. To go round a man, maybe go out and catch a ball. Remember, of course, if Benny Coulter was in the square, think of the 2 great goals he scored in the championship whenever the square ball was allowed. Well, one against Armagh in the league, which was fantastic, and one against Kildare. Well, we know about that one. But he's a master of encroaching in on the goalkeeper. It's just a pity if he's not going to be available for that first match.
And where do you think the Anglo-Celt will rest come the middle of July?
I would have said this to him last week, Tyrone. I'm not just as quick to say that now because Kildare showed up an awful lot of deficiencies in that team. I think that if you crowd that Tyrone team out, particularly around their half-forward line, and don't let them build from there, they don't have anything else there. And whenever they tried to do the same to Kildare were able to score 5 or 6 long-range points that Tyrone weren't able to do in the last 10 minutes. I think they're an unsettled team, Tyrone. I don't think they've found a place really yet in the team for Sean Kavanagh. Kyle Coney has been a big miss for them, there's no doubt about it. Ronan O'Neill. So I'm not just as sure as it'll be Tyrone this time now as it was this time last week. I think Down will be dangerous, Donegal will be dangerous, Armagh obviously will be dangerous. It's very hard to say, but I would still have a sneaking suspicion that Tyrone might just do it. And
could you throw Derry in anywhere into the mix?
I just forgot Derry. Derry almost got relegated out of Division 2 this year. They've been very much under the radar. I'm sure they'll go and hibernate now for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I really rate their manager, John Brennan. I think he's an outstanding man at reading the game. I don't think there's anybody else in Ulster can read the game like John Brennan and get the best, the absolute best out of the players. And remember, if young Bradley had been available to him in the Ulster final, he destroyed Armagh in the semi-final. If he had been available, there's no doubt, I think, that they would have been Ulster champions. So he just was cursed with that terrible bit of bad luck at the very end. Derry could take it this year, but how many times have we said that about Derry down through the years and they hadn't? But this could be their year.
Jarlath, thank you very much.